Labadiena visiems prisijungusiems, manau, galime pradėti. Tai kaip prisijungė šios dienos seminarą apie Lietuvos maisto produktų ir gėrimų eksportuotojų galimybės Kanados rinkoje, kurį organizuojame kartu su Lietuvos Respublikos ambasada Kanadoje. Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's webinar, Unlocking Opportunities for Lithuanian Food and Beverage Exporters in Canada. We're delighted to have you with us as we explore the potential of the Canadian market for Lithuanian exporters and share insights on how to successfully enter and grow in this dynamic environment. Today's webinar is organized by LitFOOD and the Embassy of the Republic of Lithuania to Canada. I am Irma Šlaičiūnaitė-Černiauskienė, Chief of Staff at LitFOOD, and before the start I will give a small guidance in terms of technical details. Kindly be informed that our webinar is recorded, and if you have any questions to our speakers, please do not hesitate to ask by clicking an icon, raise your hand, and kindly inquire in English during the Q&A session. So Canada's food and beverage industry is a dynamic and evolving sector influenced by shifting consumer preferences, economic factors, and regulatory developments. Understanding these trends is crucial for international exporters, especially for us Lithuanians seeking to enter or expand within this market. It is an honor to introduce our dear speakers. His Excellency Mr. Egidijus Meilūnas, Ambassador of the Republic of Lithuania to Canada, Mr. Mike Ricciardi, Managing Director at Food Bev Consultants, and Ms. Ingrida Darašaitė, Economic Counselor at the Embassy of the Republic of Lithuania to Canada. So let's start with the welcoming and introduction speech of the Ambassador of the Republic of Lithuania to Canada, His Excellency Egidijus Meilūnas. Welcome.
Thank you, Irma, for your kind introduction. Labadiena. Good afternoon to those joining from Vilnius, capital city of Lithuania, and good morning to those in Toronto. Ladies and gentlemen, there are more than 7,000 kilometers between the two cities, Vilnius and Toronto, and a 7-hour time difference. But neither distance nor time difference, I truly believe, is an obstacle for Lithuania and Canada to enhance and deepen our cooperation in all fields, including economy and trade. Last year, our trade turnover exceeded 140 million euros, with Lithuanian origin exports accounting for about 115 million. So we are happy that we are exporting more to Canada than importing. A significant part of that export, almost 17%, exactly saying 16.9%, was food and agriculture products. Canada is really a great and like-minded country and a large market. So there are, again, I truly believe, definitely many more opportunities to increase Lithuanian food and beverage exports to Canada. Yes, as of today, various Lithuanian food products can already be found in so-called East or Central European stores in Canada, mainly in Toronto area. Many Lithuanians are buying high-quality Lithuanian food products there, but I should be frank, as both as Lithuanian diplomat and ordinary customer, I would be very happy to see more Lithuanian products in mainstream Canadian stores. And this is one of the reasons why we initiated this webinar. The second important reason is the fact that Canada is diversifying its trade and seeking broader and more active economic cooperation with Europe. And we see that this window of opportunity is wide open. So I am very grateful to the agency LitFOOD, to the Lithuanian Ministry of Agriculture for organizing this seminar. We are grateful to you, all of you, representatives of Lithuanian business companies participating in this event. And I also warmly thank to our special guest today, Mr. Michael Ricciardi. When we first time met with Michael in April this year, two things impressed me personally most: his professionalism and his frankness. He said, I quote, "I am ready to consult and to help, but if your product has no chance to enter this market, I will tell you honestly, thus saving your time and money." So now let me briefly introduce our speaker. Michael Ricciardi is the Managing Director of Food Bev Consultants based in Toronto, Ontario province. With over 40 years of experience in the food industry, he specializes in guiding European food and beverage companies as they enter and grow within the North American market. His expertise covers strategic market entry, brand development, and distribution channel optimization. He has worked extensively with leading retailers, including Loblaws, Sobeys, Walmart, Kroger, Dollar General, Schnucks, and Ahold, as well as food service operators and distributors, helping European brands establish and expand their presence across North America. In addition to leading food bev consultants, Mr. Ricciardi has played an active role in the broader agri-food industry. He has shared insights on market opportunities for European producers in both Canadian and the US markets, offering guidance on trends, regulatory compliance, and success strategies. Earlier in his career, he also served as a buyer for Loblaws, Canada's largest retailer, gaining valuable first-hand experience from the retail side of the business. Through his work, Michael Ricciardi continues to bridge the gap between European producers and North American consumers, building cross-continental partnerships and expanding access to high-quality food products. So now, Michael, the microphone is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I thought you were about to give me an award with all those wonderful words. Listen, thank you everybody for taking the time to join us today. Hopefully it will be an informative session for everybody. As mentioned, I have been in this industry for over 40 years. Strategically, I've been on both sides of the desk. I've been in sales, run sales teams, and I've been purchasing, as was mentioned. All this experience leads me to the point that was made that I'm pretty frank about things. You know, if I see that something is just not just doesn't make sense for Canada, then there's no sense in wasting money and time and so on for everybody. Having said that, Canada. So we're here to talk Canada / United States, North America. To me, it's always been a whole. Like it's always been one or both, not just one or the other. Where it works, very similar operations for both countries. There are some differences that we'll touch upon a little bit, and then you can always ask later, and then we can delve into it much more later in the Q&A and so on, or other days. But you know, Canada being pretty diversified, having 25% of the population that's not born here, it opens up for more opportunities for countries like yours. So we do have a large ethnic population. This helps, but to a certain point. You know, you can't rely, especially in a country like yours, you can't rely on your ex-citizens that are now living here to be your savior or to buy all your products, and that it just won't work. The volumes just won't be there. And even in my, where I'm the strongest in the Italian sector, the Italian community is not my number one target. You know, what I target is people that travel, and this is where other countries from around the world are starting to benefit. People are traveling a lot. They're learning more. They're seeing more thanks to internet, thanks to food shows and so on. They're seeing different recipes and so on. So one of the key things to build upon or to try to introduce your products with is products that people understand here, but might even have a different twist, or could be, you know, sugar-free or free from and so on, which is very popular right now, which is something people look for. What I mean is, if you have a national dish or something that is just known in your country, It doesn't mean that because it's very strong in your country, it's going to be successful somewhere else. But if you have, let's just take an item that everybody knows, tuna, but you have tuna with peppers or something like that, then people will try something different. You know, if they understand the product, then they'll try it. Okay, so I'll get into the presentation, and then we can go in and talk about different things. Okay, can everybody see that?
See the yeah, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so as mentioned, we're food bev consultants. So just to give you a little more background on food bev, food bev started several years ago, or a dozen years ago, representing major brands, mostly out of Italy. I represented De Cecco, which is the second largest pasta company in the world, Co-op Supermarkets, which is the largest supermarket chain in Canada, in Italy, where they took their 5,000 private label products and tried to push them around the world. We had some major success with Walmart and Ahold and others. And I represent the San Benedetto, which is Italy's largest beverage company. I currently represent Helios, which is Spain's largest jam company, and a company out of Lithuania, a new one protein bars, and several others, Pre-Gel, Leone, which is Italy's top confectionery company. So why North America? So we have a massive diversified demand, mainstream, specialty, and ethnic. This is where the travelers and foreigners, people that migrated here, that they come into that. The people that are foodies that want to try different things, they're open to suggestions. They're open to looking at different products. Retailers that actively seek authentic European products. I had a situation recently where a retail chain in Iowa, in the United States, asked me for different products because he said, Mike, you're showing me, for 10 years we've been talking about Italian products, bring me something different. People we have a lot of Italian products. Let's see what else is out there. Let's get some interest going, some fun things in the stores. Multi-channel, so we go from grocery to club stores like the Costco's and BJ's, and this is important too. We'll get into this later, but packaging. When we start talking to you guys, are you capable of doing a club pack? Can you do a 2-pack, a 3-pack, and so on? There's several accounts that are very large, and we do a deal with Costco. It could be a massive deal. So. There's discount, where in Canada, the discounter is prevalent. So they're more per capita. Let's say there are more discount banners in Canada, even though there's only a few banners, a few key retailers. Each retailer here, Loblaws, Metro, Sobeys, has their discount arm. Loblaws has No Frills, Sobeys has Freshco. Metro has No Frills, so each one. Specialty, e-commerce, and food service. E-commerce it continues to pick up in popularity, and food service, of course, is very, very important. United States has 45,000 supermarkets, where there's 10,000 in Canada. Mexico, 6,700. So you can see the size of the market. It's pretty interesting. So to give you some idea on some of the target customers that I've dealt with, or that are present, there's many others, but these are some of the key ones. Walmart, of course, Kroger, and Costco. They're probably the 3 biggest. Albertsons, that wasn't a deal with Kroger, but it keeps going back and forth. We don't know if it's going to end up going through. Hold Delhaize, of course, a chain from Europe that here has thousands of stores. Target, Publix, H-E-B, who has won several times best retailer in America. They're only a few hundred stores, but they work very, very well, and they work very, very well with ethnic products. They have promotions going on for ethnic programs, festivals, and all sorts of things. Aldi, that continues to grow in North America, very strong. We do a lot with them. Meijer out of Michigan. Whole Foods, Sam's Club, Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's is a difficult one. They like to deal directly with the producer. They try to bypass brokers and agents. In Canada, as mentioned, we have three main companies: Loblaws, Sobeys, and Metro. They make up over 5,000 stores between them. Walmart has 400 stores, works very, very well. I've launched 104 products with Walmart in the last 5 years. Costco Canada is very strong, 50 or 60 of their stores that they call warehouses. Save On Foods is in the West Coast. They about 170 stores in the West Coast, works very well. And Federated Co-op is in the Midwest, and a nice chain as well. Mexico also has their Walmart, their H-E-B Mexico, that's quite strong, and then Chedraui and a few others that are very important. Imports and distributors. So importers and distributors are very important in North America. You can imagine it'd be too difficult for you to ship, distribute to stores, and so on. So we need the help of the UNFI, the KHEs, the CNS wholesale grocers. So to give you an example on, let's take one like CNS grocers, CNS wholesale grocers. They own about 1,000 supermarkets, but they also sell to 7,000 others. So the way it works with them, and I'm just going through it actually right now with Nuon Foods, we got into a chain called ASG out of the Northeast, which has 300 stores. CNS will be their distributor. So by placing products in ASG, it gets me automatically into CNS, into the CNS system. So now I have over 8,000 accounts that I can deal with through CNS. So this is where it's important. However, very few of these companies that you see listed here import themselves. They still require many of these, in many cases, especially with lower volume items, they expect you to warehouse and then either send them skids or have pick up skids from your warehouse. Okay, so those are things that we have to be ready for. So in this case, like that we're doing with Nuon and ASG and CNS wholesalers, we'll ship to a third-party warehouse in New Jersey. CNS will come by and pick up 2 skids, 5 skids, 7 skids, and so on, or a truckload at a time. So this is where it becomes important to have somebody, whether it's me or somebody else, on your side, because to navigate this type of structure is not easy. It takes years to really be comfortable with it, to know the rules and regulations, to know what kind of fines and fees you could be facing that you have to anticipate, and so on. So this is where it becomes important to have somebody on your side. In Canada, again, obviously a little smaller. These are just a few examples. UNFI, you saw on the previous screen. Tree of Life also you saw on the previous screen under KHE. KHE owns Tree of Life Canada. Tree of Life Canada is a $300 million company here. They're very strong in importing and distributing ethnic products. So I'm working with them on a project for Spanish jams and for Italian beans, just to give you an example. Jan-K over Wheel, I've done a lot of work with over the years. Etal Foods, I've done a lot of work with. Your Excellence, not so much. But these are just a few examples that I wanted to give you. There's many, many, many more. Mexico, the same thing. They have their set of importers and distributors that we can deal with. Compliance for the USA. So the USA has the FDA. What Canada, you'll see, has the CFIA, Food and Drug Administration, facility registration. So your facility has to be registered with the FDA. Again, you need either a U.S. agent or your own division. It could be ABC Company, ABC USA division. You need your nutritional facts, of course, allergen disclosure. For meat and poultry, there's a different thing. And then GS1, G10 barcodes. So, if you're familiar with this, GS1 was developed, actually I was one of the first consultants for GS1 many years ago, where they took the barcode and perfected it. There was too many errors in the barcodes the way they existed at the time. So GS1 stepped in and developed this system, and every product now has to have a G10 number coming into North America, really. Canada, bilingual, you got mandatory labels. So in many cases, you have companies that think that they put in, let's say, a French, an Italian, an English, label, let's say pickles, and then description, and then the back they have 5 or 6 languages. That doesn't work for Canada. and you cannot use a Canadian label in the States or a US label in Canada. They require the English and French to be, everything that is written in English has to be written in French in the exact font size. It can't even be a tenth of a millimeter off. It has to be identical to the French has to be identical to the English. So that's very important because they will definitely send product back. If it isn't, they'll hold the quarantine product. Everything can happen. Now, I'll take a step back. Having said that, in Canada, if you come to Canada, if you go to supermarkets in Canada, you will see products, not the main chains, not the Loblaws, Metros, and Sobeys, but we have others like Starskis, which is an Eastern European two-store chain that does very, very well. You'll see product in there all in Russian. You'll see in Italian stores product all in Italian. Those are fine. First of all, you'll never get into the major chains like Loblaws, Walmart, Sobeys, Metro, or Costco. But those are fine to test the market to start, and the government's not going to bother anybody. What happens here is the only time the government steps in on a label is when a competitor has complained. So, we launch a pickle, and then a pickle company from Canada calls the government and says, "Hey, I saw this jar on the shelf at Loblaw at Starskis. It doesn't comply." Then they'll come and contact you. Then you just say, okay, the next container coming in is going to be bilingual. Everything's fine. But these are rules we have to follow. You have to be ready for. So again, you can't do one label for the world or one label for North America. It has to be one for Canada, one for that. So Canadian nutrition, again, different from US nutrition. Our levels are different. The way that they're ranked is different. So some things that are low fat here might not even will not be low fat in the States. They're totally different classifications. Front of package is the newest thing that's come out, the FOP symbol. And those are, front of package is any claim you have to make that may contain a high percentage of sodium or sugar. Anything almost like a warning. That's basically what this new symbol is, and then we have to check for safe for Canadian regulations and importer records. So there has to be an importer. In both cases, in Canada and United States, you have to have an importer of record. Okay, you can't just ship product here and then try to sell it. Somebody has to be responsible for the merchandise coming in. Okay, so that's pretty important too. Again, this is why you need somebody on your side to help you with things like this. Mexico, similar ideas, black front of pack seals and so on. Warehousing logistics. So again, there are key points of entry. There are the West Coast ports that are fine for the West Coast producers, but most Midwest, mid to East Canada and United States, the two main ports of entry are New Jersey and Montreal. Montreal for Canada and New Jersey for the United States. For the United States, Northeast to Midwest United States. Most product goes in there. Most product gets warehoused in New Jersey and for the States. There are several chains that pick up from there or that get distributed from there. And then there's everything from obviously ambient, chilled, frozen storage, and so on. The CHEP versus Euro pallet conversions is also a serious issue. Most of North America works with a CHEP pallet. Some will convert your Euro pallet to CHEP, but if you can develop a CHEP program or have CHEP pallets starting from your country, it helps a lot. I'm guessing, I've never really run the numbers, but I think that it's cheaper for you guys to get a CHEP pallet and ship it. That way, everybody just continues to ship the CHEP pallet as opposed to CHEP, then bring it into the warehouse, convert it into CHEP. Bring your Euro pallet in, convert it to CHEP, and then shipping from there. I think it's more expensive. Incoterms, so we'll see, door duty paid versus, FOB, X works. Usually when I quote somebody, I try to quote them in several ways, 4 or 5 different ways. Starting with X works, obviously, if they come to pick up at your warehouse, FOB port, whatever port is closest to you, New Jersey port or Montreal port for Canada, or if we deliver right to the companies, or to our warehouse or to the buyer's warehouse. Okay, samples, logistics, and now you can send samples easily. So Canada versus USA, as far as food buying habits. So obviously Canada is a smaller market and relies more on imported products. Canada, and this is one of the questions that we had for later, but Canada, as mentioned, because of 25% of the population being from out of Canada that wasn't born in Canada, they rely more. They've hung on to their customs from back home more than the United States. United States Americans are different than the United States Canadians. The ethnic Americans are different than the ethnic Canadians. The ethnic Americans have convert everything into an American state. They even with Italian, it's the Italo-American. They all seem one way when you see them in movies or things. Where the Canadians are a little more traditional, so they a little more health conscious. We look for organic, sustainable, and so on. Again, multicultural taste drive the varieties. We are price sensitive, as mentioned about the fact that every chain has their discount chain, where few of the chains in the States, I shouldn't say that many of them do, but not all of them, like Canada. Canada, all of them have a discount chain, where in the States, of course, the Krogers that have 16, 17 banners under their name, they have a few discount banners, but a company like H-E-B, Meijer, Publix, and so on, they just have their one banner. Obviously, the States, a large segmented market, strong brand loyalty. In Canada, also, we're stronger in private label. We're 4 or 5% higher than we rely 4 or 5% mostly more on private label. One of the main reasons, the company I used to work for, Loblaws, and I used to buy for President's Choice, their private label. I used to buy $4 billion a year for them. It's a company that does about 60 billion. So we rely a lot on the private label. We for the last 30, 40 years, it's gotten stronger and stronger. You basically look at it like that. This company has searched the world for the best possible product at the best possible price. And the way a President's Choice works is they'll take a product, an everyday product, like an item that became very, very big here is a Canadian chocolate chip, and the Decadent. And they took it, they went back 27 times to perfect it, less sugar, more chocolate, more this and that. So it became one of the best selling cookies in North America. And what happens there is they want you to have something more, so bigger pack, more chocolate, less of this, less of that, but for a better price than the competitor, the main competitor. So this is how private label grew in Canada. And where Canada is mostly one way, one taste across Canada, the States is very regional. You have California that eats a little bit healthier. You have New Yorkers that don't, and so on. So it's different from state to state. So there's a plan that that we kind of have in place, and this, you can reverse the order on this very simply. So in the sense that if I'm starting today with one company, the first thing we do is weeks 4: outreach, sampling, buyer meetings, importer onboarding. So we reach out. So what I try to do when I take on a company is we start with something very simple. We get a presentation ready for Canada, for the United States. We start sending it out. We start getting some responses, buyer meetings. They say, sure, can you send me a sample? And we start finding an importer or finding out how we're going to import. Where it's different, like why did I structure it? What weeks 1, 2, 3, 6, and it's a reverse order, is because there are companies out there that want to prepare products, send them here, and then sell. So in that case, you have to start onboarding, compliance, you have to do then a gap analysis and build your price list and so on, and then send the product here, make sure that the label, packages, certifications, warehousing, target list finalization is all set up, and then you outreach, sample, buyer meeting, and so on. So it depends on which way to go. My suggestion to everybody is start very simple. Get some samples here. get a presentation ready, and start sending it out. Nobody's going to say to you, okay, send me 10 cases tomorrow, send me 10,000 cases tomorrow. They're all going to say, okay, let me see, and so on. In that time, and especially if it becomes a private label item that takes a lot longer, they're going to say, let's look at this and let's see when we can slot this in, where are you going to have a warehouse, and we have time to see if it's worth importing product and trying to sell it, or in the case like we're doing now with Nuon and a few others, we have the buyers go ahead. Now we start the warehouse process, the importing process, the packaging process, UPC codes and everything. And then you hope that you keep, you have 3 or 4 buyer meetings a month, 10 to 20 samples go out, and then a couple of POs come in. So what we deliver is what we do normally, whether it's, so we've done different things. So we've done consulting for companies, market studies. So we do a market study and category mapping. So we will take your product, we will see what's in the North American market, and we try to do it like East Coast, West Coast, Central for both Canada and United States. So we get a good idea of the market. We see what the prices are. We see what the pack size is. What SKUs are they in? What flavors are they in? And so on. And then see how your product compares. Because if the market is a 300-gram jar, 300 ml jar, and is $2.99 on the shelves, and you're at 270 ml and you're starting at $2.99, we have a problem. And unless it's a much better product, then this is where I come into the companies and say, okay, unless you're willing to make changes, stop investing. There's nothing here for you, because we're never going to break through unless you have $600,000-$700,000 to invest in marketing and things like that. So we target buyers, importer introductions. We're in well with many buyers, many importers, and so throughout North America. We go through the compliance and label execution for you, warehousing and order flow setup, whether it's EDI, transmissions for POs, and so on, pricing architecture, and promotional calendar. So the promotional calendar is very important. In that project we're doing with ASG, we plan ahead to do 4. They have 4 banners. 300 stores. We do 4 promotions a year, so we'll be coming out. So we map out in advance what are those going to cost us. So we know that they're going to cost us, in this case, 20% of our cost 4 times a year, based on velocity, based on their volume. So they do it, let's say June 1st for 2 weeks. They run a promotion. They sold 1,000 pieces. We know we're going to discount 20% on those 1,000 pieces. But where we come in to do the pricing architecture is saying, okay, so we know we're going to do this 4 times a year. What are we expecting? Okay, a 20% increase in sales in that time. So 20%, and we're going to give 20%, 20% bump, and we're going to give 20% in discount. So we build that into the price in advance, so there's no surprises later. Trade show strategies. The one show I don't want to have here is actually my favorite show, and the show that I recommend all the time, and I would do only that show, and it's called the ECRM. And ECRM is one of those shows, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, that comes in, you get a room at a hotel or a table in their hall, and the buyer comes to you every 10 minutes or every 20 minutes. So for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, you're going to have Kroger sitting in front of you, or Walmart sitting in front of you, Walgreens, and so on. Sitting there, and you pitch your product to them. Why, for me, it's the best show, and I've done it 10 times, and I've had a lot of success with it, is any of those other shows that you see listed here, they're all great shows, but a buyer could walk right by you. They might not even walk down your aisle. They're walking right by your booth, and they're looking the other way because they're talking to somebody, or they're looking to the left and you're to the right. In this case, about 30 buyers will come right to you. So there's no better value in the world than ECRM shows. And then what we do is send you a monthly report telling you everything that we did. So, spoke to Kroger, they asked for a sample. We shipped 3 boxes of samples, and they said to check back with them in 3 weeks. Anything like that happened. Spoke to Meyer, and they said they have no interest at this time. Good or bad news, we tell you right away. Share SKU list. So again, this is all part of it. We figure out together. You might have 200 SKUs. We're not going to introduce 200 SKUs to the North American market. We're going to identify the top 5, 6, 2, 10 products, the specs, the certifications. So, we expect you to have all your specs, product specifications ready, certifications. Those should all be highlighted in the presentation. So not the pack specs, but the certifications. Anytime, people want to know right away, the major chains want to know right away, which certifications do you have, BRC, ISO, and so on. Compliance check, and then price build, the approved target list and outreach plan. So we say, okay, here's what we're going to go after. That for me is a little bit tough because I go after 500 accounts. To me, there's no sense in, we're sending emails at this point. We're not going door to door like 30 years ago. So, reach out to everybody. A presentation goes on in 2 minutes. You send a presentation of 2 major chains in North America. And then we kick off sampling, we set up buyers meetings and on with that. Okay, so there's information, there's some information about us. And sorry, let me just, okay. No, I don't know what I did.
Everything is okay now. We see your contact information, and
Okay.
if that
Okay.
is it, yeah, you can stop.
Okay.
You can stop sharing.
So
Yeah.
I had, if you guys are okay with this, I had a few questions. I'll try to address a couple now. And then again, what I'm going to do is recap all the questions and answers, add them to the presentation, and then everybody can have access if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So some of these things I've already addressed, but let's just quickly go through them and see why might Canada be more attractive entry point for Lithuanian food and beverage exporters compared to US or Mexico. Well, again, the stronger European culture, 2 strong centers, Ontario, where Toronto is, and Montreal, Quebec, where Montreal is. Those are our 2 main centers, and those are quite ethnic. So that becomes very, very interesting because it's any effort you make, whether it's advertising and so on, is to a concentrated group, as opposed to the United States, where you might have a very strong ethnic chain like HEB in Southwest in Texas, but then another one might be Wegmans in Northeast and near Buffalo. So Toronto, Canada becomes a little more easier to concentrate on. Where the key consumer or buyer segments in Canada that Lithuanian companies should focus on first? Well, value Canada, value seekers, 61% of Canadians will pay more for free from or nutritional. So those are important things too. If your company does something that's healthier, lower in sugar, allergen-free, organic, and so on, those are key points to go after Canada with. How can exporters identify and select the right importer or distributor in Canada? What are the most important factors to evaluate? Well, realistically, you want to put your product out there and then see who gravitates to it. So which importers in Canada or the United States are most interested in products like yours? It's useless going after an Italian importer that's even really strong that does not do anything outside of Italian. So we look for those Eastern European importers and that. So we identify them, send the products out to them, send the presentation out to them, and then see which one is interested, and then we start following up with there. So it's not so much who you want to go after. We will go after the right importer. So what are the most critical Canadian food import and labeling requirements that often surprise European exporters? So we went through that a little bit. You have to have English and French. You have to have front of package information if you're high in sugar or high in sodium and so on. If it's a product that has allergens. What warehousing logistics strategies would you recommend for smaller importers? So there's a couple of ways, like finding a small importer to bring in, to pick up 2 skids from your warehouse or from the port. There you have warehousing with them. The other way, there are many logistics companies, warehousing companies that you can send a small container to or a few skids at a time, and then we either ship out of there 10 cases, 20 cases, 50 cases at a time, or somebody picks up, a small store can go and pick up your products. So again, the most important differences of food buying habits between Canada and the US that could affect product success. So again, private label is a strong one. Canada, 18 to 20% of the volume is done in private label, where the United States is only 15%. So private label for Canada is a very good way to go. When I was buying for Loblaws, and somebody would come to me and say, "Well, I want to do it under my brand," I'd say, "Okay, if you want to do things under your brand, to be successful in North America, you need to invest anywhere between $300,000 and $1 million. There's no other way around it. Very, very, very few products have made it been successful by just having a good product. You can have the best product in the world, but if it's sitting on a shelf and nobody knows about it, who's going to buy it? So the private label route, I used to tell people, you put yours under your brand, it could be the best product in the world. I'll put my private label next to it. I will sell 8 or 9 jars before you sell one. So that's how strong it is. That's how strong the difference is. So I recommend anybody that can do private label right now, do private label. Okay. If not, we're going to be stuck dealing with small stores and restaurants across North America. Your growth is going to be minimal and so on. But if you have good production available, and you're not maxed out on production, then really consider the private label route. Okay. And again, the retailer, the banners, the discount banners in Canada are much stronger. The 12-week to market, we talked about the order of how we would present products and then could you share examples of successful European or Baltic brands that have managed to establish themselves in Canada? I can look into the Baltic ones. There are many, let's just take Italy because that's where I'm strongest, but let's take Italy, for instance. Ferrero now has production plants in Canada that produces for all the United States and Canada. It's in the hundreds of millions. Barilla has 2 production facilities in the United States, the biggest pasta brand in the world. They started out with a company that I used to work for about 35 years ago. But then the sales reps were actually dusting the boxes off the shelf because they weren't selling. Now they're in hundreds and hundreds of containers a month. So there's, Rio Mare tuna and Calipo tuna, Lavazza coffee. They all do hundreds of containers here. They grew from very little to, from a few skids at a time. So there's many. There's probably a few hundred brands that have done very, very well in Canada from Europe. That's what I have for now. And then, like I said, I will recap everything and then send it to you. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. I can try to answer them now.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mark Ricciardi, for valuable insights and sharing your deep expertise, and of course for the answers. So now I would like everyone to invite and open the Q&A session. If our attendees has any questions, so please, you're more than welcome to give those questions to our speaker. Yeah, so at the moment we do not have, but also I have one more question to you, dear Mike. You mentioned the Starsky as being a good retail chain for Eastern European oriented to test the market. But wouldn't it mean that by selling your product in a store like this would mean your product is like a burn for entering other retailers? Maybe that's not the case with the Canadian market, but if you could elaborate, a little.
No, it's actually very good. What happens? First of all, Starsky's is not a discount retailer, so right off the bat, it's not like that. The products actually, other products that you can find in other stores cost a little more at Starsky's. But what a store like Starsky's does, like when I was a buyer for Loblaws, what I would do is I would go to stores like Starsky's all the time. Starsky's, many other Italian or ethnic, Russian and German stores, Holland stores, and so on. And the reason was to look for products. Like, what am I, I'm going to find something interesting, a nice, beautiful package, something that looks good, a nice claim, low sugar, organic, and so on. And that's what good retailers do. They'll go and find in these smaller markets to add to their stores. And what happens is many stores like Loblaws, Metro, and Sobeys that have a couple thousand locations each, they have 30, 40, 50 designated stores that are a little bit higher end or ethnic. So that's where you're going to go and find products that you can't find in the mainstream stores, the average Northern Ontario supermarket, where there you're going to find just the everyday products, but they have those 40, 50 stores that they deem ethnic, plus they map out areas. So in this area, there might be more Eastern Europeans. So let's put Eastern Europeans there and not make them go to Starsky's, right? So Starsky works really well for the type of stores like Starsky. There's many of them, and they work really well.
Okay, thank you so much for encouraging Lithuanian exporters. And okay, so to sum up, what would be the best 3 tips and tricks for Lithuanian F&B manufacturers to have in mind when entering the market?
So first of all, you have to be you have to know you have your goal in mind right at the end. So and be truthful to yourself. Like, what's your production capacity? What are you looking for? Like, if all you have available, like I've seen it many times, small and large companies say to me, well, I can produce 1 million tons. Okay, how many are you producing now? 900,000. Okay, so you have 100,000 of available capacity, not 1 million. So let's be honest about that. How much are you selling to your current market? What other countries are you looking at to sell? And then let's decide whether Canada or United States is a better option for you than Japan or Germany or South America. And then really test your product versus what's out there. As I was saying earlier, if you tell me that your starting price is 150 euro, and then I do the conversions, the import charges, the warehousing, the distributor markup, the store margin, and so on, and we get to $1 more than the average product out there for no extra benefit, then we have to be realistic again and say, okay, either we don't enter this market or we try a different strategy. We try to come up with the cheaper products. Those are things. See the size of the market, see the opportunity. And again, if you have something that's too specialized, I saw yesterday a thing on Instagram. There was a thing on this Swedish fish that smells very, very bad. It tastes very bad, but it's very popular in Sweden. Nobody will buy it here. So why are we trying? But let's come up with, if it's seafood, let's look at tins of tuna, of sardines, of mackerel, anything that's popular, mussels, and so on, right? Anything that again, you have to know the market here. So you show me some products, and I can tell you fairly quickly if it has a chance of success and what we need to do to make it successful. And it takes time. For anybody that thinks they're going to come in and in 6 months we're going to be selling $1 million, it just doesn't happen. It happens once every 100 companies. It takes time. Those companies I mentioned to you before that now sell hundreds of containers a month, they started out selling a skid. It just really takes a lot of time. By the time we introduce the product, send samples, set up a buyer meeting, then they look internally to see if it is. Might not be the right time. Many chains work on category reviews. They might say, Mike, we're not looking at jam right now. We're not looking at pasta right now. We're looking at pasta in July. So those things happen. Then you have to take into consideration holidays, right? Are we launching at the right time? There's no sense in starting a project in December 1st. There's no sense in starting a project in May 1st. You're going to have summer. All the buyers are going to be on holidays. So be strategic. When you start something, let's start January 1st, and let's go strong at it.
Okay, thank you so much. Ingrid, I have a question, please.
Yes, I had a question, although Michael elaborated a lot on packaging, but I know that maybe I want to stress that I talked to several companies that they were surprised that that the packaging needs to be bigger, bolder, flashier. Is that right? And then some other differences that I noticed as Lithuanian living for 1 year in Canada, that, for example, ready-to-eat salmon is frozen here, and you need to defrost it while you bring it home, which is unusual from Lithuanian. So maybe there are other differences that, excuse me, companies should be aware of as well, just a bit like cultural differences. Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Some of the cultural differences between Europe and Canada, or North America in general, is that here we eat. It sounds funny, but here we eat to get full. Where in Europe we eat what we feel like eating that day. So in Italy, my family's in Italy have one small fridge. I have 3 fridges and a big freezer in my house. So we tend to buy product, freeze it, have it available for the week. Some even prepare their food for the whole week. So I don't know how they know on Sunday that Thursday they're going to want roast beef, but they do. So it's a culture of having your food frozen, and then, I need it, I take it out, I thaw it out, and I have it. Where in Europe we go, today I want fish, I go to the fish market and I buy a fresh fish and I cook it that day. So that's a little bit of that. As far as everything else, as far as packaging though, it's not so much has to be bigger and so on. First of all, if you have any claim to make that is positive, try to make it on the front of the package. Consumer has less than 1 second to see your product on the shelf. So you need to scream something out from your package. So if it's organic, low sugar and so on, let people know right away, and that'll attract people. But apart from that, it's all the legal issues that, again, everything has to be. We imported a container of tuna years ago, and you can imagine what a container of tuna costs. It's an incredible cost. And the 80 gram, like the 80G on the tin, the little 80G was something like a few millimeters too small. They quarantined that for 40 days just because of that. So you have to be very careful, get the package approved by a Canadian entity, and then start packaging. Don't do something and then say, here's your package for Canada. No, we need to review it first.
Okay, thank you so much. So as we're running out of time, I believe we can agree that understanding the current landscape of the Canadian food and beverage market is essential for identifying and capitalizing on export opportunities. By aligning product offerings with consumer trends and regulatory frameworks, Lithuanian exporters can effectively navigate and succeed in this dynamic market. So this is what we've heard today. And now for the wrap up of today's webinar, I want to invite our next honor speaker, Ms. Ingrida Darašaitė, Economic Counselor at the Embassy of the Republic of Lithuania to Canada. Welcome, Ingrida.
Thank you so much. So thank you, Mike, for your excellent presentation and answering the questions. And I trust that your presentation offered some valuable insights and practical takeaways and maybe fresh ideas to the companies. And according to the latest available data from 2023, average household expenditure on food purchase from stores in Canada reached around 5,400 euros, and that's increasing from comparing with the recent years, and that represents roughly 10% of household income, and that just shows that how the Canadian food market, how important it is. And I compared those 5,400 euros with UK and Germany, how much people buy, and it's actually higher. So this is actually a market for Lithuanian companies to look into. And I believe that Lithuanian companies are well positioned to seize this opportunity to trade in Canada. We have a reputation of high quality products. We have a strong commitment to sustainability and organic that Michael mentioned so many times, that align closely with Canadian consumer preferences. And in addition, CETA, the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, between Canada and EU provide some advantages as well, such as reduced tariffs and simplified trade procedures that makes easier for Lithuanian exporters to access Canada market. And also, Ambassador already mentioned shifting trade dynamics are also working in Lithuanian companies' favor. US tariffs on certain food and beverage products have encouraged Canadian producers and consumers to diversify their supply chains. Also, Canadian consumers, they prioritize buying local when possible. This is a big trend that it's still going strong. And we can see in the media and everywhere that people here are embracing the feeling, the mindset that they want to buy anything but American. And if there is no Canadian alternative, they are buying everything but American. So this opens the door for Lithuanians.
Sorry, Rita.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. No, it's a great point you made, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it up, but it is a great point. Obviously, because of the ongoing tariff situations with Trump, they are, and I'm glad you said they are buying anything, or they're not. We've taken things off shelves. Ontario used to buy $1 billion of U.S. liquor. That is gone. They've taken that off the shelf. So things like that. But they are welcoming things from other parts of the world. So I'm glad you mentioned that, not just that they're not just buying Canadian. So they'll welcome other countries. Sorry.
No, that's a great. Thank you for that. So yeah, exactly. This opens door for Lithuanian companies to offer different products and to build partnerships in Canada. But as Michael said, product with a twist, organic, sugar-free, and packaging with a claim is important. So you need to look into that. So thank you once again. I want to thank everyone for your time and engagement. And we, working in the embassy, we look forward to seeing continued growth of Lithuanian products in Canada. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm based in Ottawa, Lithuanian Embassy in Canada, and I will be happy to advise and maybe help with my tips to navigate this market.
Thank you, Ingrid, for valuable information shared about the region specifics. And once again, I would like to express my sincere thanks to everyone for being here, and especially to our speakers. So His Excellency Mr. Egidijus Meilūnas, Ambassador of Lithuanian Embassy in Canada, Mr. Mike Ricciardi, and Ms. Ingrida Darašaitė. Presentation and the record of the webinar will be shared tomorrow, and all information about our upcoming events can be found at LitFOOD's website and LinkedIn account. And LitFOOD team wishes you a wonderful day, and we are looking forward to meeting most of Lithuanian food and beverage exporters at Anuga, the leading FMB event in the world. So thank you once again to everyone, and wish you all the best.